18 years of marriage, and I never imagined that finding hotel receipts in my wife's gym bag would be the least of my problems. What I discovered next made me realize that the people closest to you can orchestrate the most devastating betrayals, and my three daughters were about to learn that same hard lesson. My name is Matheu Rafferty. I'm 47 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I'm a partner at Westfield and Associates, one of Denver's top architecture firms. I've been there for 23 years, rising from a junior draftsman to having my name on projects that define this city's skyline. I bought a house in England Ranch that I designed myself, had three beautiful daughters, and what I believed was a solid marriage to my wife Amber. Emma is 17 now, getting ready for college applications. She has my mother's stubbornness, but my eye for detail. Luna is 14, all attitude and artistic talent. She reminds me why I fell in love with design in the first place, and little Arya is 11. She still thinks her dad can fix anything that breaks. I used to think so too. The cracks started to appear last spring, though I didn't recognize them at the time. Amber began working later, more frequently. She claimed the marketing firm she worked for was landing bigger clients. She'd come home on edge, distracted, always checking her phone. When I'd ask about her day, she'd give me vague answers about deadlines and difficult clients. I chalked it up to work stress. God knows I understood that. Then came the weekend trips, team building retreats, she called them, overnights at mountain resorts where the company supposedly held strategic planning sessions. She'd pack nice clothes, the kind she used to save for our date nights, and come back on Sunday evening, tired but glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. The first warning sign I couldn't ignore came on a Tuesday night in March. I was working late, reviewing blueprints for a new downtown project, when Derek Mansfield stopped by my office. Derek is a senior partner, 15 years my senior, twice divorced, and the kind of man who thinks his age and position give him a license to comment on everyone's personal life. Matthew, Derek said, slumping into the chair across from my desk without an invitation. Saw Amber at the downtown Marriott yesterday afternoon. She looked great. I looked up from my drawings. Derek continued, funny thing is, she was with some guy I didn't recognize. Figured it might be a client meeting, but they looked pretty friendly. The pencil in my hand stopped moving. Friendly how? Derek shrugged, but there was something calculated in his eyes. You know, laughing, leaning in close, the kind of body language that says they know each other well. I set my pencil down carefully. What time was this? Around 2. They were heading toward the elevators. That night, I asked Amber about her day. She mentioned having lunch with a potential client, said it went well, that it could lead to a big contract. She didn't mention the Marriott. She didn't mention a man. And when I asked where they met, she said it was some coffee shop downtown she couldn't remember the name of. That conversation with Derek haunted me for days. I found myself watching Amber differently, noticing things I'd previously dismissed. The way she guarded her phone, taking it into the bathroom, sleeping with it under her pillow. How she started buying new clothes, subtle changes that made her look younger, more vibrant. The expensive perfume that appeared on her dresser, one I'd never seen before. 2 weeks later, I decided to head home early. Emma had a track meet, and I wanted to surprise the family by actually showing up for once. I pulled into our driveway at 4:30, expecting to find Amber getting ready to go. Instead, I found her car was gone, and Luna and Aria were sitting at the kitchen island doing homework. "Where's your mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "She left about an hour ago," Luna answered, not looking up from her math book. "Said she had to meet someone about work stuff." "Did she say when she'd be back?" "Nope. Just that we should order pizza for dinner because she'd be late." I called Amber's cell. It went straight to voicemail. I tried her office. Her assistant told me Amber had left early, around 2, saying she had a family emergency. A family emergency. But there I was, and the girls were fine. That night, Amber came home at 9:15, looking flustered and a little disheveled. Her hair was different, as if she'd run her hands through it repeatedly, and her blouse was wrinkled in a way that suggested she'd been sitting for a long time. "How was Emma's track meet?" she asked, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. "You missed it," I said, watching her reaction carefully. Amber's face fell, but the surprise felt forced. "Oh no, was that today? I completely forgot. Work has just been insane. Your assistant said you left early for a family emergency." The pause was almost imperceptible, but I caught it. "Did she?" I I told her I had an appointment. Maybe she misunderstood. "What kind of appointment runs until 9 o'clock?" Amber opened the fridge and pulled out a bottle of wine, her back to me. "A client dinner. The Ardaman account I've been working on. They wanted to discuss expanding the campaign." "Which restaurant?" "The Elevation." Another pause. "That new place downtown." I knew Elevation, an upscale steakhouse that required reservations weeks in advance. Not the kind of place where business dinners run past 9 on a weeknight. The next morning, I called Elevation. They had no record of any reservation under Amber's name or her company's name for the previous night. That weekend, I decided to confront her directly. We were in our bedroom, getting ready for bed. The girls were asleep down the hall. Amber was brushing her hair at her vanity, humming softly to herself. She looked content, almost radiant. "Amber," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." She stopped brushing and met my eyes in the mirror. "What's wrong? Are you having an affair?" The hairbrush clattered onto the vanity's surface. Amber turned around slowly, her expression shifting from surprise to indignation. "How dare you ask me that?" she said, her voice rising slightly. "Because things don't add up anymore. The late nights, the mysterious appointments, the lies about where you've been." "Lies?" Amber stood up, crossing her arms over her chest. "I haven't lied about anything. You're being paranoid." "Then explain the client dinner at Elevation. It never happened." Her face flushed. "You called the restaurant? That is completely—" I wasn't going to sit there and pretend everything was normal. 23 years in architecture had taught me that when you suspect structural damage, you investigate before the whole building comes down. I started with the phone records. Our family plan made it easy enough to access my wife's. What I found sent a chill down my spine. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize. Calls that lasted for hours, always during the times she claimed to be in meetings or running errands. The number belonged to someone named Travis Hamilton. A quick online search revealed he worked in commercial real estate, was divorced, and 42 years old. His LinkedIn profile showed he'd recently moved to Denver from California. I cross-referenced the timing of their communications with Amber's mysterious absences. Every client dinner corresponded with long phone calls. Every weekend retreat aligned with gaps in their text exchanges, suggesting they were together. But the final proof came when I found Amber's iPad tucked away in her closet in a shoebox she never touched. She'd forgotten to log out of her personal email account. The messages were devastating, not just the affair itself, but the casual cruelty of how she discussed our marriage. Matthew is just so dull lately, she wrote. All work and no passion. I feel invisible in my own home. Travis had replied, You deserve someone who sees you, someone who makes you feel alive. There were pictures, nothing explicit, but intimate enough to make me sick to my stomach. Amber laughing in restaurant booths I'd never seen, walking hand in hand down downtown streets, looking happier than she had with me in years. The worst part was reading their plans to spend spring break together while she was telling me she was visiting her sister in Portland. My daughters had been asking me why Mom seemed so excited about Aunt Sarah all of a sudden, when she'd never shown much interest before. I printed everything, every email, every photo, every receipt from hotels and restaurants charged to credit cards I didn't even know existed. When I was done, I had a 2-inch thick binder. That night, I waited in the kitchen until Amber got home from another board meeting. A lie so obvious now that I wondered how I'd ever believed it. We need to talk, I said as she walked in. She sighed dramatically. Matthew, if this is about the other night, I slid the binder across the kitchen island. Open it. Amber's face went white as she flipped through the pages. For several long moments, the only sound was the rustle of paper and the hum of our refrigerator. Finally, she looked up. You went through my private emails. That's your response? That I invaded your privacy? It's sick, Matheu. Stalking me, printing out my personal correspondence. Personal correspondence? I stood up, my voice rising despite my attempt to stay calm. You mean evidence of your affair? It's not what it looks like. Then explain what it looks like when my wife of 18 years is planning a vacation with another man while lying to our daughters about where she's going. Amber's defiance faltered for a moment, but then her chin shot up again. You wouldn't understand. You've been emotionally absent for years. Travis makes me feel like a woman again, not just your wife or the girl's mother. The admission was like a physical blow, but it also brought a cold clarity. Pack a bag, Amber, I said quietly. You're leaving tonight. Amber didn't pack a bag that night. Instead, she locked herself in our bedroom and called her sister, sobbing loudly enough for the whole house to hear. Emma knocked on my office door around midnight. Dad, what's going on with Mom? I looked at my 17-year-old daughter, this young woman who was supposed to be worrying about college applications and prom dates, and I felt my heart break all over again. Your mother and I are having some problems, I said carefully. Adult problems that have nothing to do with you girls. Are you getting a divorce? The blunt question caught me off guard. Emma had always been perceptive, but hearing her say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I don't know yet, honey. Maybe. Emma sat down in the chair across from my desk, suddenly looking much older than 17. Is Mom seeing someone else? I stared at her. What makes you ask that? She's been different lately, happier, but also secretive. And she's always on her phone, even during dinner now. Plus, she bought new lingerie last month. Really expensive stuff. She left the receipt on her dresser. The matter-of-fact way Emma laid out the evidence was a painful reminder of myself. My daughter had been building a case, too, probably without even realizing it. Emma, it's okay, Dad. I mean, it's not okay, but I'm not an idiot. I know what's going on. In the week that followed, the truth spread through our house like a slow acting poison. Luna found out when she overheard Amber on the phone, saying things no wife should ever say to anyone but her husband. Little Arya just knew something was wrong because Mommy and Daddy weren't talking anymore. And when they did, their voices were sharp and angry. Amber tried to do damage control, telling the girls this was just a rough patch that couples sometimes go through. She painted herself as the victim of my controlling behavior and unfair accusations. But Emma wasn't buying it. Mom, I heard you, I overheard her say one afternoon when she thought I wasn't listening. Dad found your emails. That's why he's so upset. Those emails were private, Amber shot back. Your father had no right to read them, but you wrote them. You were seeing someone else. The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. That evening, Emma came to find me in the garage, where I'd been spending most of my time since the confrontation. I was reorganizing my tools, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind focused. Dad, I want you to know something, she said, leaning against my workbench. Whatever happens with you and Mom, me and the girls, we're on your side. You're the one who's here for us, Emma said, her voice firm. You're the one who comes to our games, helps with homework, and makes sure we have everything we need. Emma, you don't have to choose a side. Yes, I do, she insisted. Mom is trying to make this asterisk your asterisk fault, and that's a lie. She's the one who cheated. She's the one who lied. And now she's trying to manipulate us into feeling sorry for her. My daughter's fierce loyalty was a balm to my soul, but it also worried me. These girls shouldn't have to navigate the wreckage of adult betrayal. They shouldn't have to choose between their parents. But Amber had made that choice for them the moment she decided our family wasn't enough. I spent the weekend at my brother's house, trying to clear my head and plan my next move. When I returned Monday evening, Amber was waiting in the living room with our three girls, arranged as if for an intervention. Girls, she began, her voice trembling with manufactured emotion, your father has some very serious accusations about me, and they simply aren't true. Emma crossed her arms, her expression skeptical. What kind of accusations? He thinks I'm having an affair, Amber said, her voice catching, which is absolutely ridiculous. I've been working extra hours to help our family financially, and instead of being grateful, he's become suspicious and controlling. Luna looked between us, confused and uncomfortable. Arya sat huddled beside Amber, tears already welling in her eyes. Daddy, Arya whispered, are you and Mommy getting a divorce? I knelt in front of my youngest daughter, my heart cracking at the fear in her voice. Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups have problems they can't fix together. But no matter what happens between your mother and me, we both love you and your sisters more than anything. But I don't want you to get a divorce, Arya sobbed. Amber pulled her closer, shooting me a look that screamed, see what you've done? But Emma was watching our mother intently. I could see the gears turning in her 17-year-old mind. Mom, Emma said quietly, if Dad is wrong about everything, then why don't you just show him your phone? Prove there's nothing there. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Amber clutched Arya tighter. I shouldn't have to prove my innocence to anyone, especially my own family, she said finally. Your father, He needs to learn to trust me again. That night, I made the call I had been dreading. My lawyer, Patricia Henderson, had handled real estate deals for me in the past, but she was also an expert in family law. Matteo, she said after I explained the situation, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but based on what you've told me and the evidence you've gathered, you have a strong case. What does that mean exactly? It means that while Colorado is an equitable distribution state, infidelity can impact alimony and potentially child custody. With your documentation of her affair and the financial deceit, you'll likely keep the house and get primary custody if that's what you want. I do, I said without hesitation. The girls need stability, and Amber clearly isn't thinking about anyone but herself right now. Then I'll prepare the papers. We can have her served by Wednesday. On Tuesday morning, I sat the girls down before school. Emma already knew what was coming. She'd found the legal documents on my desk and read them with the same attention to detail she inherited from me. I'm filing for divorce, I told them. I know this isn't what any of us wanted, but your mother has been lying to us, and I can't live like this anymore. Luna started to cry. Aria ran to her room and slammed the door, but Emma just nodded. Will we have to choose who to live with? She asked. I hope not. I hope we can work something out that's best for everyone. But even as I said it, I knew Amber wouldn't make it easy. She would fight for the girls, not because she wanted them, but because losing them meant losing control over me. The biggest shock came Thursday morning. I walked into the office and found Amber sitting in Derek's room. They both looked serious, conspiratorial. Through the glass walls, I could see her gesturing animatedly while he nodded in sympathy. My assistant, Sarah, intercepted me before I could go in. Matteo, she said quietly, Derek wants to see you in the conference room. Amber's been here for an hour. In the conference room, Derek sat at the head of the table as if presiding over a board meeting. Amber sat to his right, her eyes red-rimmed but defiant. Matteo, Derek began, Amber came to me, very concerned about your recent behavior. She says you've been making wild accusations, threatening divorce, and putting the girls through unnecessary trauma. I looked from him to her. You came to my workplace to discuss our personal problems. I went to someone I thought could talk some sense into you, Amber shot back. Derek has been a friend to both of us for years. Derek, I said, keeping my voice calm. Did you tell Amber about seeing her at the Marriott with another man? He shifted uncomfortably. I mentioned I'd seen her, yes, but perhaps I misinterpreted what I observed. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening clarity. Derek hadn't been trying to warn me that day. He was fishing for information, likely reporting back to Amber on what I suspected. How long have you known? I asked him directly. Known what? About the affair, about Travis Hamilton, about the hotel meetings you've been helping to cover up. Amber's face went white. Derek's professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and calculated underneath. Matteo, he said, his voice a warning, I think you're under a great deal of stress. Maybe you should take some time off. Get some therapy. No. I stood up, my voice now cold and controlled. What I'm going to do is remind you both that I have documented everything. Phone records, credit card statements, hotel receipts, emails, all of it. I looked directly at Derek. And I'm also going to remind you that as a senior partner of this firm, you have a fiduciary duty to maintain professional boundaries. Involving yourself in an employee's marital affairs and potentially using your position to intimidate me could be construed as workplace harassment. Derek's face flushed red. Are you threatening me? I am informing you that I've retained legal counsel, and any further interference in my personal life will be handled through the appropriate channels. I turned to Amber, and you will be served with divorce papers today. I suggest you find your own lawyer. As I walked out of the conference room, I heard Derek call my name, but I didn't look back. Whatever friendship or professional relationship we'd had was over. That afternoon, word of the confrontation spread through the office. Some colleagues avoided me, but others, especially the younger architects, made a point of showing their support. The papers were served that evening while I was helping Aria with her homework. The process server found Amber at Travis Hamilton's apartment. 2 weeks later, Amber made her first critical mistake. She tried to empty our joint savings account. I found out on Monday afternoon and had Patricia file an immediate restraining order on all marital assets. This shows desperation, Patricia told me. She's panicking. This is good for us. That afternoon, I did something that surprised even me. I drove to Travis Hamilton's real estate office downtown. He was all smiles and professional charm, showing a property to a young couple. Excuse me, I said, addressing the clients. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I feel you should know that Mr. Hamilton is currently involved in stealing money from a family with 3 children to fund his affair with a married woman. You might want to consider working with a more ethical agent. The couple exchanged a look and left quickly. Travis's face turned crimson with rage. You can't come into my place of business. Actually, I can. It's a public establishment, and I can certainly share factual information about your character with potential clients. What do you want? I want my family's money returned to our account by 5 p.m. today. Otherwise, I will be outside your office every morning at 9, letting everyone know exactly what kind of man they're thinking of doing business with. Travis stared at me for a long moment. Are you insane? No. I'm a father protecting his children's future from a thief. There's a difference. The money was back in our account by 4:30. That night, Amber called, screaming about harassment and threatening a restraining order. Go ahead, I said calmly. File whatever you want. But you'll have to explain to a judge why you stole our children's college fund to give to your boyfriend. It wasn't stealing. It was stealing from our daughters. And now every lawyer in this city will know exactly who Amber Rafferty really is. The line went silent for a long moment. Then she hung up. Emma found me in my study later that night. Dad, she said, Aria is having nightmares about money. She heard you and Mom fighting about the bank accounts. My heart sank. What kind of nightmares? She thinks we're going to lose the house, that we'll have to move, that she won't be able to stay in her school. She's 11, Dad. She shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. I put down my pencil and looked at my daughter. She was carrying so much, trying to be strong for her little sisters while watching her parents' marriage implode. Your mother tried to take money that belongs to all of us, I said carefully. But I stopped her. The house is safe. Your schools are safe. No matter what happens between your mother and me, you girls will be taken care of, I promise. Derek's retaliation was swift and petty. My workload suddenly doubled with impossible deadlines. Client meetings I'd managed for years were reassigned without explanation, but he underestimated the respect I'd earned with our clients over 2 decades. On Thursday morning, I got a call from James Morrison, our biggest client. Matteo, he said, his voice concerned, I need to ask you something directly. Are you leaving the firm? Not by choice, I said carefully. Why do you ask? Because Derek called yesterday, suggesting we might want to consider transferring our projects to other team members. He said you were going through some personal issues that might affect the quality of your work. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Derek wasn't just meddling in my personal life now. He was trying to destroy my professional reputation. James, my personal life has never interfered with my work. Every project I have handled for you has been delivered on time and on budget for 15 years. That's what I told him, and that's why I'm calling you. Whatever is going on over there, Morrison Development wants to continue working with you specifically. If that becomes a problem, we'll need to discuss alternatives. By the afternoon, I'd received similar calls from 3 other major clients. News was spreading that Derek was trying to force me out, and nobody liked what they were hearing. Patricia had warned me this might happen. Workplace retaliation during a divorce is illegal, she'd said, but proving it can be tricky. You need to document everything. I started carrying a small notebook, logging every interaction with Derek, every changed assignment, every unreasonable deadline. By the end of the week, I had 12 pages documenting his harassment. On Friday afternoon, Derek called me into his office. He sat behind his desk with a self-satisfied smirk, clearly expecting me to beg for mercy. Matteo, I think it's time we discussed your future here, he said. Your recent behavior has been troubling. Perhaps it would be best for everyone if you considered other opportunities. I took out my notebook and placed it on his desk, followed by a folder containing copies of client communications and project records. Derek, I think it's time we discussed your future here, because I've been documenting your retaliation, and I have 4 major clients who have specifically requested I remain on their projects. Clients who, I believe, represent about 60% of this firm's revenue. His smirk vanished. I've also contacted the Colorado Bar Association regarding the ethical implications of a senior partner using his position to harass an employee over personal matters. They take that sort of thing very seriously. Derek's face went pale. You're threatening me. I'm informing you that your behavior has consequences, just as Amber's choices have consequences. I stood to leave, but paused at his door. Oh, and Derek? James Morrison specifically asked me to let you know that if my working conditions here do not improve immediately, Morrison Development will be taking their business elsewhere. Something about preferring to work with firms that maintain professional standards. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. We were in a Denver courtroom that felt far too small for the magnitude of what was ending. Amber sat at the opposing table with her lawyer, looking pale and defeated. The confident woman who had once smirked at my accusations was gone. I was replaced by someone who understood that actions have consequences. The terms of the settlement were better than I had dared to hope. I kept the house, the bulk of our savings, and most importantly, custody of our 3 girls. What's going to happen? Amber asked me. She had no answer for that herself. The girls blame me for everything, she went on. Emma won't even speak to me. Luna barely tolerates our visits, and Arya just keeps asking when I'm coming home. Those are the consequences of your choices, Amber, I said, my voice even. I didn't create this situation. I know, she whispered. I got lost somewhere along the way. I felt invisible in my own life. I looked at this woman I had loved for nearly 2 decades. the woman who had given me 3 beautiful daughters, who had once been my best friend and closest confidant. You weren't invisible, I said finally. You were just looking for attention in all the wrong places. That night, I sat in my backyard while the girls did their homework inside. Life was moving forward. Emma had been accepted to Colorado State with a partial academic scholarship. Luna was excelling in her art classes and had started talking about design school. Aria was still processing everything, but she seemed more herself now that the uncertainty was over. My phone vibrated with a message from Patricia, my lawyer. Asterisk Derek Mansfield announced his retirement today. Word is the partners pressured him to leave after the Morrison account threatened to walk. I stared at the message for a long time. Derek's career, built over 30 years, was over because he chose to involve himself in our life. Amber's affair had cost her our family. Derek's interference had cost him his reputation. The girls joined me on the patio after they finished their homework, settling into the garden furniture we had bought together when Emma was still in elementary school. Dad, Emma began, are you happy? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, now that it's all over, are you happy with it just being us? I looked at my daughters. Emma, preparing for college. Luna, finding her artistic voice. Arya, slowly healing from the trauma of watching her parents' marriage implode. They were strong, resilient, and surrounded by the stability their mother had nearly destroyed. Yes, I said, and I meant it. I'm happy it's just us. 2 years later, I was designing a new community center in downtown Denver when a call came in from Emma's dorm at Colorado State. Dad, I have something to tell you. It's about Mom. My stomach tightened. Amber and I maintained minimal contact now, coordinating only for the girls' schedules and school events. She had moved to Colorado Springs with Travis, the man who had divorced his own wife to be with her. Their relationship had the desperate intensity of two people who had blown up their lives to be together. What about her? I asked. She called Luna yesterday, crying. Apparently, Travis cheated on her with a woman from his real estate office. The irony was almost too perfect. How's Luna handling it? Better than Mom is. Luna told her that maybe now she'll understand how you felt. I leaned back in my office chair, gazing out at the Denver skyline I had helped shape over 2 decades. Some of those buildings represented the work I did while married to Amber, back when I thought we were building something permanent together. Others were projects I'd completed after the divorce, when I learned how to build for myself and my daughters alone. Emma, I said, I need you to know something. What your mother did, the lies, the betrayals, the way she handled the divorce, that's not who she was when I married her. People change, and sometimes they change in ways that hurt the ones who love them. I know, Dad, but she made her choices. Yes, I said, she did, and now she has to live with them. That weekend, all 3 girls were home for Luna's 16th birthday. We grilled burgers in the backyard and talked about colleges, careers, and Luna's latest art project. Arya, now 13 and wise beyond her years, asked if I ever missed being married. I miss being married to the person I thought your mother was, I said honestly. But I don't miss the lies, or the uncertainty, or wondering if the person I loved ever really existed. Do you think you'll get married again? Luna asked. Maybe. Someday I might meet someone who values honesty and loyalty as much as I do. Good, Emma said firmly. You deserve someone who won't take you for granted. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, I sat in my office, reviewing architectural plans and thinking about foundations. In construction, everything depends on a solid base. If the foundation is compromised, the entire structure becomes unstable. My marriage to Amber was built on what I thought was solid ground, but her deceptions created fractures that eventually brought everything crashing down. The divorce was painful, like demolishing a building you'd spent years creating. But now, I had something better, a life built on truth, a relationship with my daughters based on trust and respect, and the knowledge that I was strong enough to start over. My phone vibrated. A goodnight text from Emma. Asterisk. Thanks for being the dad who stayed strong for us. We love you. I smiled and turned off the lights. Tomorrow, I had a new project starting, a mixed-use development that would combine residential and commercial spaces, creating a community where people could live, work, and build something lasting, just as I had done with my own life. Amber's betrayal had taught me that the most important foundation is the one you build within yourself.